who's very strong, very healthy. I mean, yeah, but...
and actually, Dr. Magufuli dies of the same cause as President Nkurunziza, because according to Samia Suluhu, he succumbed to a cardiac affair. It was a heart problem that he's been battling with for over a decade. When President Nkurunziza died on the 8th of June last year. Actually, on the same day is when we lost Kasirye Gwanga here in the country. Now, the issue in Burundi is, of course, they had also gone through an election, concluded it, and they were just waiting for swearing in for President Evariste Ndayishimiye. Back in Tanzania, they also went through an election, concluded it. President took oath of office, he appointed cabinet, and 4 months into the first year of their next term, and so it happens like that. And right now, the person in the driving seat is Dr. Samia Suluhu. But what do you have to say about Magufuli at this time? It's really very
No, I think when about 3 weeks ago, when actually rumors started coming in that where is Dr. John Paul Magufuli, because since he was elected president, actually he has been an active man.
Appearing everywhere.
Appearing everywhere, on radio and TV here and there. So when a week elapsed without seeing him in action, then people started speculating what could have really happened, because he was not that type that actually would lead from he's the type who would lead from the front line. Okay, so not one who would actually maybe sit in offices and so on. But also the other issue that, given that this was his second and last term, of course people were also expecting to see how now he rolls out activities that would to consolidate his legacy. That was something that people were also keenly waiting to see. But also not forgetting that he failed to deliver a new constitution in his first 5 years. Because when he was elected, when he was elected in 2015, of course, the issue for the first time, Tanzanians realized that no, the constitution has to be amended to create a provision for whoever is not satisfied with the elections at presidential level, to also for
an electoral dispute,
dispute at presidential level, to go to court, because currently their constitution does not provide for that, and that was because of that heated campaign elections between him and Edward Lowassa. So among the recommendations was that actually the constitution needs to be changed immediately. But again, as they were trying to they came up with a constitutional review commission, but as they were reviewing the constitution, there came also other issues. The issue of Zanzibar also became because during the process of coming up with the constitution, the issue of Zanzibar came out seriously, because now according to the arrangement, the union that presently they have in Tanzania, it is a union that provides for two governments: the government of the United Republic of Tanzania, which actually is also the government of mainland Tanzania, and now the government of the semi-autonomous Zanzibar. Now there is also a school of thought that I say, no, look here, if Zanzibar they have their own government, also then Tanganyika should also have its own government. So that you have three government, you have the government of Zanzibar, you have the government of Tanganyika, and now you have the government of the United Republic of Tanzania. So that became a serious issue in Tanzania, so much that people are referred back to what Nyerere used to say. Yes, because Nyerere told them when the issue came up in the 70s, when Nyerere was still the president, he told them that, look here, if it was Tanzania and Uganda or Tanzania and Kenya forming a union government, they would have three governments: the government of Tanganyika, government of Kenya or Uganda, and then the union government. But he says with Zanzibar is not even a province in mainland Tanzania, because by that time in Zanzibar they had 300,000 people, a population of 300,000 people, and by that time a province like Mwanza had 1 million people. So they're like, now how you cannot say that a country that even cannot constitute a province in Tanzania, then we should also have the same status with them. So that was his argument. Secondly, he said that now if we have three governments, it means it is the taxpayer in Tanganyika, mainland Tanzania, who's actually going to foot the bill. So that was why he said that was the understanding they came up with, two governments. So that has been a very serious, contentious issue in the reviewing of their constitution. Yeah, but also the other issue that also has been, some people have been also, it has been street talk, that the president was also planning to lift the term limits, though he had openly actually said no, whoever is passing those rumors that I intend to lift the term limit is an enemy to Tanzanians. So those were the three major issues. So he passes on at a time really where Tanzanians were actually anxiously waiting for the new constitution and see how it is actually going, how it's going to work, how it's going to serve the people of the United Republic of Tanzania. But also back here, when it comes to the region, remember the pipeline issue. We had just started the pipeline.
Okay. Well, just hold it there, the issue of the pipeline, but I think let's get to Kenya here and listen to President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta say something about that.
Kukutana na kuongea kuhusu maendeleo ya nchi zetu mbili. Nakumbuka haswa safari yake ya kirasmi ambapo walitutembea hapa Kenya, na pamoja na yeye tukafungua barabara ambaye tunaita Southern Bypass, na pia kwangu mimi binafsi akanipatia heshima kubwa sana kwa kusisitiza ya kwamba lazima atembelee mamangu Mama Ngina Kenyatta, na akachukua fursa kwenda kumtembelea nyumbani na kutoa heshima zake kwake. Na pia mimi akanialika nimtembelee kwake nyumbani kule Chato, na pia nikapata nafasi ya kumsalimia mamake na kuongea naye. Tukalala kwake nyumbani na tukaongea mengi kuhusu nchi zetu mbili na pia uhusiano wetu kama wanachama wa Afrika Mashariki. Nimempoteza rafiki, nimempoteza kiongozi mwenzangu, na nchi ya Kenya tumesimama imara wakati huu mgumu na wenzetu wananchi wa Tanzania. Nimepata nafasi leo asubuhi kumuongelesha naibu wa rais Mama Suluhu Hussein, na nikampatia pole zetu na nikamhakikishia ya kwamba twasimama pamoja naye wakati huu mgumu, na tutaendelea kushirikiana na yeye na serikali ya Tanzania pamoja na wananchi wa Tanzania mpaka tuhakikishe ya kwamba rafiki yetu, mzee wetu tumepumzisha, na tuendelee na huo msimamo alikuwa naye wa kuunganisha wananchi wa Afrika Mashariki. Twasema Mwenyezi Mungu amlaze pahali pema peponi na atupatie amani wakati huu mgumu sana. Asanteni.
Naam, ni Rais wa Kenya Uhuru Kenyatta.
Well, thank you so much, President Uhuru Kenyatta, for that national address. He really feels very sorry about that, just like all of us. Wote tunaomba tu wa Tanzania kubali rambi zetu. Otherwise,
you know, they normally say that tulimpenda lakini Mungu amempenda zaidi.
We loved you, but God loved you more.
But God loved you more. So we have nothing. And you see, all of us, that is the path we have to take. Yeah, but going back to the issue really on ground in Tanzania, I think this is the first time they are really losing a head of state. Save for the people in Zanzibar when Abeid Karume, the first
was assassinated.
Yes, yes. But now this is the first time, actually, and the second time I think in East Africa that way. No, not actually a third, because we had Burundi. Yes, this is the third time as a region we are losing a sitting president, which is actually very, very sad. Yes, which is very sad.
When you look at the constitution of Tanzania, Zaka looking at it a number of days ago, and just looking at it now, it's very silent about that. It doesn't really detail what happens when a president dies in office, what happens when a president resigns, because it may not just be death, but the president can resign, or what happens if a president is quite sick and maybe goes senile or whatever that means. And so the constitution doesn't detail that. But you see, something unique about them in Tanzania is that the vice president is nominated by the political party. In this case, it's the CCM. So nominated by the party, comes on the ballot with the president as running mate, and they are elected on the same day. And so, their constitution refers to their vice president as the principal assistant to the president, who does and they detail the functions of the vice president. So, well, now the issues are that the vice president takes over. In our Ugandan setting, of course, it talks differently. What happens if a sitting president dies in office or resigns or is impeached or all the things? So that is talked about now. Yet again, the Constitution of Tanzania actually also details the impeachment processes. It talks about how you can impeach the president. But like you said, what Magufuli failed to deliver on was on the constitutional amendment of it, because the first of all dragged to court, I think in 2010, by one of the lawyers there, to demand for the same thing and say, look, let's do this, because the problems that Kenya got in 2007-8 was because there wasn't that window for solving electoral disputes. When Mwai Kibaki was sworn in after that election of Chivuta, and now the Raila Odinga team, the ODM and all these others say, now what is left for us? What do we do next if we can't even run to court? Then that's how they also revisited and rewrote their constitution in 2010 and tried it out in 2013 for that first election. The 2010 had its first election then. But there is a pastor in Tanzania, I think, one of the religious leaders, the clergy there, who had also now risen to say, I am just going to take on President Magufuli to demand for constitutional amendments, anyway, demanding for quite a number of things in the constitution and something like that. Now, something very unique here is when you read the clauses of the constitution, the articles in the constitution, they refer to the president as a him or a he, and same to the vice president. Yeah. So the vice president is also referred to as a him, a he, and now Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan is the first woman vice president, and now the first female president in there. But the constitution talks about all those as a he, a him, not where you find a he or she, presumably that there will be either male or female sometime. But looking at the challenges ahead, another very unique thing about Tanzania is that their political party, Chama cha Mapinduzi, is very vanguard, that it determines lots of things. It has a very vanguard council and the structures in there. Chama cha Baba, you know, does lots of things. Even when the constitution is the supreme law, it takes precedent of all these others. What do you look at as the challenges ahead of Dr. Samia?
Well, what I just say is that with CCM being everywhere, I think as a party, they will manage the situation. As CCM as a party, they will manage the situation. Because in the 70s, actually, when in the 70s, when the president of Zanzibar, Sheikh Abeid Karume, actually passed on, what happened is that the Revolutionary Council of Zanzibar, which is actually now the parliament, you know, their parliament is called the Revolutionary Council, yes, elected the person to succeed Sheikh Karume, and that's how Jumbe came in as the president. Yeah, but also in Tanzania, remember in 1984-85.
Well, okay. Well, I thought our producer was giving us the address of Dr. Samia when she was breaking the news to the world. But if that wasn't it, then I think we could carry on and wait for.
Yes, so in 1984-85, when Nyerere was actually leaving office, that is in 1985 when he was leaving office, CCM, of course, had an elaborate mechanism of electing who was supposed to be his successor, and the election was between Al-Hassan Mwinyi and Salim Ahmed Salim. Yes, so
former
AU Secretary General. Yes. So that is how it was handled. So I believe also in this particular case, the CCM will actually manage the process, either to retain Dr. Suluhu Samia as maybe acting president and maybe finish the term, or perhaps the party may decide otherwise, because now you see in those countries like in South Africa where you have ANC, those parties can withdraw anybody. They can say,
yes, they can.
Yeah, they can withdraw anybody. Say, look here, maybe we are withdrawing this one.
The other thing that I'm also looking at and see how they're going to manage it, because remember that Dr. Magufuli was elected president alongside Samia Suluhu as running mate.
Yes.
Now, and of course, they did these appointments and had the others. Now, when you have Dr. Samia Suluhu as president, who came now out of this situation, or who has come out of this situation, and there is no running mate. So I was trying to look at their constitution to see now what happens in appointing a vice president. You get the point. But because now there is no provision of appointing a vice president, but I think I'm just trying to see. I think it's maybe Article 50 of their constitution that talks about now appointing a vice president, or because we're now looking at if the party decides and says, well, Dr. Suluhu shall continue, because remember, they were only 4 months into their term. Only 4 months, not even half a year of their next 5 years. So that means if nothing changes, then Dr. Samia Suluhu should be president, or shall be president, until 2025, sometime when that ends. But quite a number of things. East Africa as a region now.
East Africa as a region, I think this we must draw lessons from such experiences. That the constitution must always be clear on who exactly takes over as and when perhaps such a situation happens. Because this takes us back in the 1978 when Mzee Jomo Kenyatta died, that is in Mombasa. You see that there was that power struggle between a clique of the Kikuus who are saying, no, the vice president cannot ascend to power until Charles Njonjo, who was the Attorney General, prevailed. I say, look here, our constitution says the vice president takes over, and that's how Moi came in as the president. So in Tanzania, my thinking is, and of course what is actually on ground, that CCM being the strong party it is, this is something they're going to handle. If need be, they may, because it is the party that appoints the vice president. It's the party that nominates the president and the vice president. So if they have confidence